Requiring email verification is pretty common practice among many websites. It typically involves you getting the user's email address during registration, sending them an actual email with a link inside of it that has some token or signature attached to it that they would then click, which would take them back to your application, which would then verify they are who they say they are. This process ensures that only real people with valid email addresses can register on your website. It also helps people from using fake accounts and using someone else's account that they don't have permission to use. So with that said, let's go ahead and dive in and take a look at how we can approach this with AdonisJS. So in our password reset lesson, we created this token model here that has an ID, user ID, type, token, expires at, and then the typical created at and updated at. At the bottom of this model, we do have some methods specific to password reset tokens. So if you would like to learn how we went about this approach, the password reset lesson will be linked down in the description, but we'll cover it in brief form here in this lesson just so that you're not lost. So here's what the migration looks like for this token table. We have an ID, a user ID that's unsigned, references ID users, and then it cascades on delete, has a not nullable type and a not nullable token of 64 characters, and then our timestamps down here. And this is bound to our user via a token relationship. And then we also created a one-off token relationship specific to password reset tokens. We'll do the same here for our verify email tokens. But before we actually do that, the first thing that we're going to want to do is actually add in a column designating whether or not our user's email has already been verified. So for that, let's jump into our user's migration here. Now, if you're working with an application that's already out on production, you'll want to create a separate migration to make this change. But since I'm working locally, let's go ahead and just add it into the existing migration here. And we'll set this up as a Boolean. We'll call this is email verified. Set this to not nullable, and let's default it to false. So now anytime that we create a user, so anytime a user registers, they'll have their is email verified column marked to false by default. So let's go ahead and get that change picked up on our application here by running node ace migration, and you can do reset, refresh. I'm going to do fresh so that it drops everything within the database and then just remigrates everything, since I'm not 100% certain what I have in my database at this point in time. And there we go. So now we have that picked up on our database. Let's go ahead and mark it into our user model as well. So let's do at column public is email verified. Set that to a Boolean, and we can default it to false here as well. Next, let's go ahead and alter our token model here just a little bit. So we're going to make these methods a little bit more vague so that we can reuse them for not just password reset, but also our verify email. So first and foremost, let's start at the bottom here with the verify method. What this does is verifies whether or not a token has been expired already and whether or not it exists within the database. So it will return truthy if the token is still valid and falsy if invalid. We'll want to limit this to a particular type, and that type will be password reset as we're setting here on the creation. So we'll have one for password underscore reset, and then we'll have another one here for our use case today of verify email. And we'll just add that into the where statements down here. Let's jump into the password resets controller where we are using that and add in password resets for that one. And we'll want to do the same thing for this get password reset user. We could just make this get token user by specifying these same types. And so to save us the hassle of copying and pasting this throughout wherever we're using it, let's go up to the very top of this file and let's do a type called token type equals, and let's paste in those two types there. Then we can scroll back down to where we just plop that into this type argument type here and replace this with token type. And now for our second usage here on our get token user, we can do type of token type here as well and add this into our where clause, just like so. Great. So one last method to make more generalized is our expire password reset tokens. So we can just do this to expire tokens and accept in a relation name. And this will be of type password reset tokens or verify email tokens. We'll set up that relationship here momentarily, but we can just provide this relationship name directly into the relationship here. And that should be all that we need to do there. To get rid of those squigglies, let's jump back into our user model. And where we have this password reset tokens relationship, let's give that a copy, paste, change password reset here to verify email. And let's change the name of this to verify email tokens. Give that a save, and now our red squiggly should be gone over here. We just need to update the usages. So expire tokens, password reset tokens. And I think we have one more usage of that within the password reset controller. Oh, we also have one for our get user. So get token user, password reset, and then expire tokens, password reset. There we go. Give that a save. Cool. So we should have everything set up now. Let's go ahead and create a controller and get some of our views set up for this. So let's do node ace make controller, verify email controller, pass in -e so that that name is exact. And within here, we'll have a couple of methods. So we'll have public async verify. So this will be the route that the user's taken to whenever they click on the link sent to their email. And it will verify whether or not the token is still valid. And then if it is, it will mark the user's email as verified. And then we'll do one more. We'll put this above the verify. We'll do public async index. And this route will be to retry or to display to the user that they still need to verify their email. So in addition to just displaying that, we'll also want this route to kick off another email. So this is essentially a retry and notification route. So we'll grab view from this. And for right now, let's just return view render. Let's put this into emails and call this verify. Give that a save. So I'm going to copy our forgot password page, create a new view, emails, verify.edge, paste this in here, and let's update some of the verbiage. Please verify your email. We've sent you an email with a link to verify your email. Please click that link to continue. So something like that, and that should really be all that we need. And then we'll just have our flash messages here. We'll use the flash messaging to display the state of whether or not that token that they're trying to use is invalid. We'll end up kicking them back here and use the flash messaging to display that state, or use this if they try to go to a page they're not allowed to because their email is not yet verified. So this page here kind of serves two different purposes that we'll set via the flash messaging. So let's give that a save and let's rig up those routes. So we'll put this right above our password reset, but underneath auth. So let's do route.get/verify email, and this will be our index route. So we can do verify email controller index as verify.email, and then we'll have route.get verify email with a token parameter of verify email controller dot verify as verify.email.verify. And for this route here, we're going to want to block this to authenticated users only. So let's add in a middleware of auth on that. If you haven't already, you will want to register the auth middleware. It does come with the web configuration of AdonisJS, so you should just need to rig it up within your kernel. So once we have these two routes, we should be good to move forward with our mailer. Now, I already have AdonisJS mail installed and configured within this application. If you do not, you'll want to hop into your terminal and run npm I at adonisjs/mail. Once you run that, you'll want to run node ace configure at adonisjs/mail, and that will configure it within your project, and you'll want to select whatever driver it is that you're using and finish out the instructions that it gives you. Great. So let's go ahead and jump into our terminal here and run node ace make mailer, and let's call this verify email. And that will create a mailer for us within app mailers. So we can dive into this, and we're going to want to add a constructor to it with two properties. So we'll have private user of type user, and then we'll have private token of type string. We also need to call super for the base mailer. All right, now let's jump down to our prepare method. This is in charge of preparing the email for sending. It's not actually in charge of sending the email, it's just preparing it. So let's do please verify your email from no reply at adocast.com. And then for the two, we'll want to put this user email, and then we'll want to do some HTML here. You can put this inside of an HTML view if you have more markup that you need to do. Click the following link to verify your email. Okay. And now we need to actually generate out the URL here. So let's import env from at IOC Adonis core env. And let's also import route from at IOC Adonis core route. And now in the prior lesson, we created a domain property on our env right here that adds in a protocol, takes the host, and then adds in the port. Now, since the difference between localhost 127.0.0.1 and 000 will have different states for our authentication due to the way that that cookie is saved, I'm going to normalize this to just 127.0.0.1 so that we don't lose our authentication state whenever we click on an email verification link to jump back into our application there. So let's give that a save there. And now within our prepare method, we should be able to grab that domain. So const domain equals env.get domain const path equals route.make URL. And this will be the verify.email.verify route, which we need to provide in the token. So we can do this token to provide that in as the route param. And lastly, const URL equals domain plus path. Okay, good. So that should be all that we need to do there. Next, there is one more change on our token model here that I want to make, and that's to generate out a verify email token. So we can do public static async generate verify email token, except in the user, and let's create that token. So string.generate random to create a crypto safe random string here of 64 characters long. And then we can call our await token.expire tokens, pass in the user, and then tell it that we want to expire out the verify email tokens. Const record equals await user related tokens. Create. The type here will be verify email. Expires at will be date, time, now, plus, and this is really at your discretion. I'm going to do hours 24 to make the token valid for 24 hours after its creation. And then lastly, let's add in that token. And really all that we cared about sending back from this method is the token value itself. So we can either reach for the token that we have up in that variable, or we can return record.token. Either way, it works just fine. Let's give that a save. And now let's jump into our user model. And at the bottom, let's do public async. This won't be static. And let's call this send verify email. We don't need any arguments there. And we can do const token equals await token dot generate verify email token. Provide this. And since this is an instance method, this is the user's record. So if we do this dot, you can see that we have our attributes, extras, and all that fun stuff that you have on a typical model record. So this is our actual user. So we can provide just this there, and it should generate out a verify email token for us. And now we can await new verify email to create a new instance of our verify email mailer, provided in our user of this and our token of token, and then mark it to send or send later. So we're generating out that token and sending it with our mailer. Send will immediately send out the email token. Send later will put it into a queue so that it doesn't block the finishing of the current request. So once we have that, we should be good to jump into our verify email controller and start working on our verify method. So we'll want response, session, params, and auth. First, let's grab the user that's bound to our token. So let's do const user equals await token dot get token user, provided in the token from params.token, and then specify the type to be for verify email. If the user is found, we know that the token is valid, so we can utilize this to know whether or not the token was valid as well. So if not user, we know the token is invalid. And we can do an additional check here as well, and this is really up to you and the security practices that you and your team want to follow. So we can require the user to be authenticated whenever they verify. So if they sign up, they might leave, forget about the email, come back a day or so later, click on the link to try and verify their email, come back into here where they might not be authenticated anymore. Then you could utilize the auth property here to not only get the authenticated user and verify that the user is authenticated, you could do that via the auth middleware as well, but you can check whether or not the two users match. So you could do isMatch equals user.id equals auth user ID. And then if there's not a match there, you can just treat this as though the token is invalid. If there's no authenticated user at all, so if not auth user, then this is where you might want to return to login page and verify email after successful login. So we could do something like session.put is verifying email to true there, and then return response.redirect.toPath the home page, which for this application is where the actual login form is. And then after that form submission, you could do something within your auth controller on login to check that within the session. So you could do something like if session.has is verifying email, then you could just go ahead and verify their email via something like auth user.is email verified equals true, and then await auth user.save. You also want to make sure that there is an auth user there as well. Okay. So if you want to require the user to be authenticated in order to verify their email, then you would want to do something like that there. Otherwise, we can move on down to our handling of invalid tokens, where we'd want to do something like session.flash token, your token is invalid or expired, and then return response, redirect them to route verify email, and that will return them back to that dual purpose page where we will display a particular message via the flash to the user, and then this will kick off another verify email link to them. Otherwise, if the token's valid and we do have an authenticated user, then we can go ahead and verify their token. So we can reach directly for that user. So we can do user.isEmailVerified, set that to true, and then await user.save to persist that to the database, return response, redirect to wherever you deem applicable. We'll just do the home page here. Okay, great. So that should be the bulk of the flow done. The last thing that we would need to do is add some kind of middleware to limit paths to just verified users. But let's go ahead and test this out to make sure that it's working. So let's do test plus user gmail.com, provide them some password. Oh, got to boot up the server first. Let's jump into our terminal, npm run dev. There we go. Jump back into our browser. Let's go ahead and go back, hit that one more time. There we go. Okay, so we have our newly created user. Let's jump into Mailtrap, give our inbox a refresh, and it looks like it's empty. Oh, you know what? I bet we forgot to actually send that off on registration. So let's jump back into here, go into our auth controller. Yep, sure thing. So let's await user dot, and then we should have send verify email right there. All right, cool. So let's jump back into our application, log out, re-register, test plus user 2, give that a send. All right, good. So we're logged back in. Check Mailtrap. There is our please verify your email with a link to verify your email. If we give that a click, we're taken back to the homepage of our application. So it looks like that worked. Let's go ahead and verify that within our database. So let's jump into our users. We have test user 2 is email verified is set to true. So that did indeed work. Let's verify that the token was invalidated. So expires at, and it is 11:58, but it's only the 27th. So this is still valid right here. It's not yet the 28th. It's only the 27th. So that means if we were to jump back into our browser and try to use this verify email token again, it's going to work without giving us an invalid token message. So what we need to do is jump into our verify email controller. After we've verified the email, marked it as true, we'll also want to await token.expire tokens for the user, specifically for our verify email tokens. Give that a save. Now we can try to go through this twice. So let's click on our verify email one more time. It works there, but if we jump back into our table, give this a refresh, you can see that this has now changed to the 27th at 1 p.m. So this should now be invalid, meaning that if we give this one more try, there is our your token is invalid or expired message. And now to finish out our flow, what we want this to do is kick off another verify email token to us so that we'd be able to jump back into our email and click a new fresh link. So we currently don't have our application doing that. So if we jump back into our verify email controller, scroll up to our index, you can see nothing's going on here. So that same method that we called after our user is registered, user send verify email, is what we want to call here. So we'll want to grab auth out of our HTTP context. This is a route that we are limiting to authenticated users, and we're doing that via the auth middleware right here. So we should be able to do await auth user dot send verify email just like that. Now, if we give that a save, jump back into here, click this verify email link one more time, we're taken back to this page as expected. But if we jump back into our email, you'll see that now we have a fresh please verify your email link that we'd be able to click and use to verify our email. Again, if we click that once more, it'd be expired out. So everything there seems to be working a-okay. The last thing that we'd want to do is block users who are not yet verified from accessing certain portions of our application. So let's jump back into our code base here, create a new middleware, node ace make middleware verified email or something of the sort. Go ahead and create that middleware and let's register it. So jump into our kernel, call it something like verified email or verified user or whatever you deem applicable. Import that from app middleware verified email. Jump into there. We'll want to grab auth. And there's several different ways that you can go about this. So you can either block them from the page altogether. You could just add a message onto the session so that you could just display some persistent message to them until they do so. I'll leave it up to you to decide what you want to do with this particular middleware. For our use case, I think it's easiest to just go ahead and flash something to the screen. So we'll just do session.flash, please verify your email. And then we could call this something like verify email and then say, please verify your email. And then we could just check for this flash key and display whatever we want as a toast message. But we will want to check if auth user and not auth user dot is email verified before we actually flash that to the session. So we can give that a save, jump into our layout here where we can check for at if flash messages dot has verify email at end if, and then we could either display the message contents via flash messages dot get verify email or we can display a custom message here since we've already verified that that is within the key. So we could do, please verify your email by at href route verify.email, clicking here. Give that a save. And then we need to actually give some route that middleware. Since our authentication is on the welcome page, we'll just create a separate route here. So let's do route.get/test async view return view render test. And let's assign this the middleware verify email. Then we need to create that page. We'll copy again just this forgot password page and paste this within our views, renaming it to test, getting rid of the form. And we can say your email is verified. If you're seeing this, your email is verified. Give it a save. Now we should be able to jump back into our application, and we can head over to /test since we've already verified the email with this user. Oop, need to boot up our server again. Oh, looks like I have a typo. My verified email. Let me go fix that. Oh, I called it verified email. All right, I'll just go ahead and change it to verified email. There we go. All right, let's give this a refresh, and your email is verified. We can see this page successfully. Let's go ahead and jump back to the home page, log out, log in as a separate user and give that a try. So let's do test plus user 3. Okay, now let's not verify their email. We did get an email kicked off to them to verify their email, but let's not do that. And let's try to visit our test page here. Oop, that's right. Flash messages are only available for the next request. So we can't actually use that here. Instead, let's go ahead and just plop that onto the view. So instead of grabbing session, let's do view, and we can do non-verified email is true there. We can jump into our layout and change our if statement to if non-verified email, then we'll display our message. So let's go back into our application. So let's go back into our app and give that a try. So let's do test plus user. Let's do 5 because I'm not sure what number I'm at there. Register them. We should now have a fresh email, which we do. And now if we go to /test, you can see, okay, so I need to change the status of that, but you can see up here in the top left corner, we have this, please verify your email by clicking here. We can change the verbiage here. So we can say at if auth user, at else, at end if, and we can put h1 you're not authenticated. And then we can do at if non-verified email, at else, at end if there. And then for this one, we could say your email is not verified. Your email is verified. Okay, so now if we come back in here, give this a refresh, you can see your email is not verified. If we go ahead and click on our please verify your email link here, we'll be taken to our please verify your email page where it tells us that it sent us a fresh email. So we can jump into our email here, click on this link here to actually verify out the email, head back into our test page where it says your email is now verified. So there we have it. And that's it. That's all that's needed to add email verification to your AdonisJS application. If you enjoyed this lesson or you learned something new, please be sure to hit the like button down below and subscribe for future lessons just like this one. Thanks for watching, everybody. I'll see you in the next one. Oh, hey, and a fun fact for those of you who stuck around this long, that intro that I did at the very beginning of this lesson, that was written completely by AI from a simple 5-word prompt. How fun is that?